Len Nevin with Elite Agent Blueprint. I want to talk today about some quick tips on using Lofty effectively, communicating effectively, often, and getting actual deals closed because of it. So the biggest issue that we run into as real estate agents is these leads come in and we want to get it done right away, right? And so if that lead calls, whether it's a past client, whether it's a referral, whether it's fear, no matter what the source, right? Internet lead, FSBO, expired. If we don't do something with them immediately, they kind of got forgotten about, right? We forget about them. And then 3 months later, we're like, whatever happened to Bob? And then you look up Bob, and Bob already listed and sold and moved into his new house. And you're kicking yourself going, oh, why didn't Bob call me? No, Bob did call you. You just didn't stay in touch with him. So I'm going to show you a couple tips and tricks to keep your systems moving forward, and some communication tips that really help with keeping people engaged and showing people that you know how to add value to the conversation, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump into Lofty here in a minute. I'm going to kind of showcase some of the little things that we do. And I'm going to start with our segments, right? So inside of our segments, that's our main communication portal, right? Inside of segments. So my philosophy, my standards, my beliefs with this whole thing is that when you look at a lead, and I'll kind of show you what I mean, when a lead comes into the Lofty system, it comes in as new. So inside of your daily tasks, your job is to take that new status and move it somewhere. Because you'll notice that once I've grabbed a lead, I can't move it back into new. New's not an option. I don't even see that as an option here, right? You can't move it back into new. So if I have a lead, I call it, I talk to it, I call a lead, I leave a voice message, I send a text message follow-up, I send an email follow-up. What is that lead now? They are a prospect. They're not a lead anymore. They're not new anymore. They're officially a prospect. I should be able to go into my system, click prospects, and those should be a list of people that I'm trying to reach out to, but I have not yet connected with, right? And so my actives are people who I've tried to reach out to and I've had conversations with. These are people I'm working with. I've got other ones inside my pipeline. And the good news is with Lofty is you can customize these, right? You can add these. I do a lot of referral business. So if I refer it out, it goes into here. Once I've set an appointment, I put it here. If I'm showing them homes, I put it there. If I've listed the property, if it's under contract, if it's closed, if it's a bad lead. So I do differentiate between bad leads and do not contact. If it's fear, if it's pond, I'm going to throw it in the pond, and then I want to differentiate and say these are real estate agents that are in my system. So I market to them maybe differently than I would, definitely differently than I would to a typical consumer. So that's kind of how our pipeline is set up. But inside of our pipeline, our segments controls all of that, right? So if I put it in the system, I have this thing that says need to parse. As they responded, it goes here. If they're new, it goes here. And the idea is that when it goes into the system, I need to make sure I'm categorizing them, parse them out. Where do they go? Where do they belong? If I talk to them and I have a conversation with them, and they're like, look, yeah, it's August. I need to be in my new place by the end of September. That's a super hot lead. That's for somebody who needs to be talking to the lender right away. I need to be showing them homes tomorrow or today, as soon as I get my buyer broker signed, of course. And I need to have a high sense of urgency for this person to help them find a property. Those are my super hots. I'm reaching out to them at least every 2 days. And so I spend my day basically just going through and I click through. Now, my system is going to look a little bit different than yours potentially. If you're the team leader, it'll look a lot more like this. If you're on a team and they have your segment set up this way, or if you're an individual with your own hosted account, you could set this up. And when you click on it, it's only going to show yours. So I click on mine. It shows me everybody's. So I click on that. I just have to go through here, make sure it's just me. And now I have my list of people who are quick and easy, right? These are the people I need to reach out to within 2 days. And I don't have a lot in here, so it's, if I hit select all, 14 leads, perfect. I'm on top of that. I can make those calls really quick today. Then I jump down and I go, okay, well, what about my ones that are, maybe need to start looking in September. Maybe they're a month out before we start. Cool. Same thing. I only need to reach out to these once a week, and I have 21 of these that I need to be reaching out to today. And it could just be text messages, follow-ups, voicemails, whatever it ends up being. These are people I've not reached out to in over a week. It's been over a week since the last time I reached them, which is why their name is now flagging and showing up on my list, and so on and so forth. So 14 days, 21 days, 45 days. I wrote this one. Who knows? I'll reach out to them at least every 90 days. I believe that you should at least do that. And so you just work your way down the list, and this is how you stay in communication with them. The next piece of this is, as I was talking about, if they're inside of prospect status, I need to continue to reach out to them. Once again, the number one mistake real estate agents make. I've heard this 100 times. Well, I left them a voicemail. What the freaking hell? Like, seriously? I left a voicemail? Who are you? You're not like a doctor who's like solving the world's problems. They've filled out a form on a website and you left them a voicemail and you expect to get a callback. Your callback is like the callback percentage from a lead to a form to a voicemail to a callback is probably less than 1%. If you're going to build your entire business off of I left them a voicemail, get the hell out of the business. I'm just being real. You have to follow up again and again and again. I mean, I could pull up stats, reports that show you need to call these people like 16 times or more before they finally connect and respond to you. That's when you can finally get into a relationship with them, because they see you're persistent, they see you're polite. Because you'll notice inside of my campaigns, I don't have these set up for, every 3 hours. I'm not the solar salesman where you accidentally left filled out a form and they call you 5 times a day, where your phone's ringing off the hook with the same phone number over and over and over again. You're just calling them every couple of days. So this is your call list. They sit in here. I built a campaign that what happens is the second you drop a lead and you put it into prospect, it automatically moves it into the segment of prospect new. It sits in there for 2 weeks, then it moves to warm. That sits in there for 2 weeks, moves to cold, sits in there for a month, moves to freezing. Then it sits in there for a month and moves to sub-zero, sits there for 90 days and goes to prospect ice age. And then that has you calling them twice a year. It's not that hard. And all you have to do is dial through the list. Now, these are everybody in here, but I mean, if I click on prospect new, I should not have that many inside of here. And so I hit prospect new and I've got 9 leads that I'm overdue. Like, I need to go through here and I need to call these 9 people because it's been over 3 days since I called them. Granted, it's Monday, so that includes Saturday and Sunday, but that means these are leads from Thursday and older that are still inside of, I've even got some inside of new status. So even as I'm going over this, I'm showing you that even I'm at fault with following my own system sometimes. But by getting in here and being strategic about doing this stuff, at least this is a fallback, right? This is a parachute, no lead left behind. And that's my whole philosophy is you can't predict and be at your desk every single day. You could try your best, but you've got to be able to build a parachute. And so this parachute's going to save me and say, look, you know what? Maybe you should have called this person a few days ago. Call them today. They're in your list. Just call them today. The past is over. Yesterday is gone. And the problem is that, so with previous systems, what would happen is I would have these set up as tasks. And so I'd have all these big overdue tasks and I would just feel daunted. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got like 50 leads. I should have called them by now. I don't select all, just complete, done. I'll just get them next time that task comes up. And then maybe you don't. This guarantees it, right? Like, I can still have a little bit of forgiveness inside of my schedule to get on these. And so that's how I work this call list. And then as they get older, you don't need to be calling them every 3 days when they've been in your system for 21 days, or when they've been in your system for who knows how long, 6 months. So imagine calling the same lead every 3 days for 6 months. No, they're never gonna do business with you. So you have to start to space it out to where you're listening to the lead. And the reality is, and I'm just gonna be completely honest about it, when you stay on top of this type of a method, you're not gonna be in the cold months and the warm months and all of a sudden getting, that type of a bad number very often, because you would have gotten that right away. And so as they move through the funnel, you hear, you call Betty, hey, this is Betty, sorry I missed you, leave a voicemail. So you've called Betty multiple times, you know it's Betty, so you just keep pushing because you know you have the right person who filled out that form on your website. The name matches, the number matches, the registration, all of it lines up. So that's the system for staying on top of your leads. No lead left behind. All right. So the next step, right? So now I'm inside of a client transaction, right? And so this is me. I don't mind sharing all this information, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the problem is so you've got some leads in here, or sorry, some property alerts, and you're sending them properties, but they're maybe not necessarily opening them, right? So I go in here and I can see, okay, the last website visit was, and obviously I'm in here all the time, so it says 2 hours ago. What if that said 21 days ago? And you look and you're like, all right, I'm sending all these emails. I can look here and I can see, all these emails are going out. These emails are, I see everything happening. So, right here, August 12th, that's today, your agent Len found new homes for you to look at. Okay. So there they are. And I can click on it. And then I go, okay, well, here's some properties. So I click on it. And you're like, awesome. That's the search results of what they're looking for. Here's 5 properties inside this neighborhood that I can send them. Now the problem is if I try to send these, I either have to go into Lofty and add these one at a time, or I can copy this URL and send that to them in a text message, right? So I'm going to say, go over here and send a text message, and I put that in. What in the world? How in the world am I going to send that? That's not going to work. So what's an alternative? Now, I used to use a branded version of Bitly, bit.ly. Now, Bitly recently changed their pricing, and I went from basically a grandfathered. I originally had the Bitly account that I set up probably in 2002 or 3. So it was old, maybe 2005. I don't know. Whenever Bitly first came out. And so it grandfathered me in for years. And then I got an email probably about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And now it would have cost me, based on the amount of usage I do, I would have been at about $50 a month. I'm like, just to shorten URLs. So I found this program called short.io. And so now all I have to do is, instead of sending this big URL here, when I'm on this page, because I've embedded it, I use Chrome. That's just a little side note. So using Chrome, I've embedded the thing here, short.io extension, click, shorten, copy, go over here. Instead of sending that, I send that. You tell me what's easier. I can now send that. And so instead of just sending a link, I can say, hey, Len, was looking at these houses. Let me know if any of them work. Now you can see that I'm using 2 emails on this, right? So when you start adding certain characters, so when you're talking about like these, these slashes and things like that, now you're adding multiple characters, your character count goes down, but whatever. If you're going to use too many, pay for it. That means that's a good problem to have. Let's see how many this was going to use. Yeah, that's going to send out 3 or 4. That's going to count for 3 or 4 text messages. And who in the world is going to click this link? I can't imagine what that's going to look like. On my phone. So I'm just curious now. Let's see if it even works. So I'm like, I just send myself that text message. Let's see if it even works. Yeah, it's a big mess. It's this huge, long thing. Now I can click on it and it goes where I need it to go. So it shows me the results that I'm looking for, but it just doesn't look as clean. And if I've written any additional text in there, it's just basically going to get washed out and you're going to lose it. So that's another little trick that I want to show you, is this short.io. You just drop it right into here. So whenever you're in here and you go to your search, the other thing you can do, this is a big thing I do all the time, is I go into my engagement and I look and I go, okay, well, here's some East Valley homes for sale. And I click on the last email that's sent. And so by clicking on the last email that's sent, I saw a post the other day. Somebody was like, how do I send more than 20 properties? Because I guess if you add them one at a time, it caps you at 20. How do I send more than 20 properties to my clients? Well, this is how you send more than 20 properties to your client. So you can send 366 if you really want to your client to go look at. Now, I would never advise sending 366 properties ever to a client because they're going to get lost in La La Land here. But once again, copy that bad boy there. I just close this up. So inside of my follow-ups, look at that thing. 1,038 characters, 1,138 characters to send this. Hey, who wants to get that? I mean, is that even going to send in one text message, or is that going to break it up into multiple text messages? Let's find out. It depends on the carrier, but let's see how this thing shows up in my text message. It's still thinking. Yeah, it's not even sending. So I didn't even get it. Now, if I take that same URL and I shorten it, because that was way too long, it basically it canceled it out. It did come through. Okay, so look at that. You send a message like that, nobody's gonna click on that. They're gonna be like, what in the world is this dude sending me? Like, this guy's out of his mind. So instead of sending that, send that. What is better? You tell me. I'm gonna go with the little message that comes up, and when I do it, it actually shows up in my thing branded to my team, and that's how I see it because it's right there, pulled right from there. So that's tidbit number 2 or 3 or whatever inside of how to do this. So don't want to make this video too much longer, but those are a couple little different tricks. So as you're doing your follow-ups, as you're going through and you're trying to send out these messages really quick, I mean, another thing that I'll do a lot of times is I'll just go over to the inbox. And so like I sent out this message over and over again today, and I would just send this out. I copied the base part of the message and copy paste, send. So that's just another thing that you can do when you've got a message that works out pretty well. A lot of times if I'm going through, especially as I get into maybe those people who are 1 or 2 months out, and I can say, look, it's been a while since, I sent you some properties, maybe you look and you see, look, maybe this says 0, right? So 233 emails sent, 0 opened. So if I have somebody who's got 0 opened emails and they aren't opening it, I'm going, okay, I might be landing in their junk mail. And so one thing that you can do is you can build some shortcuts inside of your some templates. So create a text template. So inside of our text templates, I have a text template that says, are you getting my emails? Hi, blank. I wanted to reach out, make sure these are hitting you, right? So if I go in here and I'm like, you know what, they're not opening any of my emails, I can just go into here and I can just say, are you getting my emails? And then automatically fills it out. And so I have it set up to where it goes in there, it posts this in here, and all you have to do is just swap out that link, right? So I just take the link I had, pop it in there, done. In case you haven't seen them, here's the link to what I've been sending, drop it in there, send. Now they have the link to what you just created, and it's a nice little intro message. So utilize these shortcuts. I mean, I've got one here, if somebody's like, yeah, I need a lender and I want to send them to my lender, Josh, I click on this. It's a whole introduction. It's got all his email in there. If I don't see him once again opening emails, I can click this one. Is this the correct email? Hey, Len, sent you some homes over the last couple of days. Want to make sure the emails are getting through. Is this the best email for you? And automatically fills it out. And so you've got all these different options that you can put in here. And so definitely utilize the shortcuts that you can have. So that's all I got for today. Never stop lead generating. Never stop following up. That is absolutely your ticket to success in real estate, is being relentless, never giving up. I promise you it'll pay off. People will constantly compliment you when over and over and over again you follow up. I've gotten more transactions put together and worked with more clients because they said, wow, like your follow-up is insane. It's awesome. I appreciate you staying in touch with me. And never, and that you hear this one a lot. Thanks for never giving up on me. Because they feel, they understand, like, you're in sales, and salespeople give up on people all the time when they're like, yeah, he's a flaky dude. And so when you're still just following up, hey, checking in, hey, how you doing? Here's information on rates. I know you're not ready to go right now, but here's what's going on. So follow up, follow up, follow up. Hopefully these tips help you with your follow-up. You become the follow-up boss inside of Lofty. Catch you next time.